Welcome back to Totally Unexpected. I'm your host, Chavie Brooke. Really excited to be here again with you guys. And my guest today is somebody very dear to me. Her name is Linda Laverty. She's a holistic esthetician. She believes in safe, non-toxic skincare, touch-focused techniques, and non-invasive technology that supports skin health. She believes that skin health comes from understanding how our body systems operate and are linked. Living in the sunny and arid mountains of Montana, she puts a significant emphasis on how the environment and climate can influence skin health. I can attest to all of this. Linda has been a huge part of my life in the last couple of years. And as you will hear in the podcast, part of my skin journey, but so much more than that. The first part of the podcast, we spent talking about her transition from a job that is totally different than skincare and moving into skincare. She actually moved to Montana right before COVID. And Hashem, God, brought us together because she's been a huge addition to my life. I really can't wait for you to listen. I think you will really appreciate her approach and the way she talks about skin and the industry and all of that. So please enjoy.
Is my audio okay?
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. Okay, good. Yay! So exciting. I'm so happy that you're here. We made it work. Thank you for being flexible with the time. There's still people here, so hopefully the noise, it will be okay. We'll be able to filter some of it out. But
I have not seen you in too long, first of all.
I know it's not okay. It's not
you
okay.
You looked so amazing at the award ceremony. I have to tell you, I was just like,
thank you.
Who did her makeup?
I know. I actually my wig person, Esty, did my makeup.
She did?
Yes. And
she did a good job.
She did a really good job. I wasn't sure what I wanted. And I think I was like, I want it to be good. Just do it good. And I was very happy. Thank God it turned out really nice. And the dinner itself was so beautiful.
It seemed like it was an amazing event.
Yeah, they really did a good job. And it was fun. And it was like not dragged out. Like it was great. And it was really special. And I feel really honored to have been a part of it. It's funny because we came home that night. Like we got home like 11:30 because to get from Manhattan to Brooklyn, even at that time of night, still takes a long time. And we get home and obviously kids are overtired. I had Hannah, Leia, and Zizi with me. So we get home like 11:15, 11:30. I'm thinking like, okay, we're just going to head to bed and you're tired. And Hannah, Leia had a 2-hour screeching in somebody else's house, a meltdown. I can't, I'm still in shock because why? Because she didn't like her pillow. And then it spirals from there, right? Wow. But she's so stubborn and she didn't like her pillow. And like everything I tried wasn't working. We tried every pillow and then she would be like, fine, I'll go to bed. And then she'd lay down on her pillow and then she'd pop back up and screech like, it's not good. The pillow's not good. 2 hours.
I don't know how you do it.
We went to sleep at 1 a.m. and we could have gone to sleep at 11:40, And the only thing I could do, I was like, I just sat there and like eventually she fell asleep.
She tired herself out.
She tired herself out, but it took 2 hours. And while this was happening, I'm like, this is God keeping me humble, right? Like, this is my humbling moment. Like, I come home from this beautiful dinner. My husband and I were being honored. Like, it was such a gorgeous evening. And then to this, it's like,
you don't need to be humbled, my friend. That was not God.
trying to find reasons why this is happening. I'm like, why is this happening? And then the craziest thing was the next day we're leaving, right? We have the morning and we leave to the airport at 3:00 in the afternoon. We get to the airport. 15 minutes after we get to the airport, our flight's delayed 2 hours. Like, you couldn't have told us like before we left to the airport. So it ended up being delayed 3 hours. We ended up missing our connection. We ended up having to spend the night in Minneapolis just to get home. It took us 25 hours to get from New York to Bozeman. So we ended up staying in like the Minneapolis airport has a hotel that's kind of attached to the airport.
Oh my gosh.
So thank God we stayed there. Again, it's 11:30 at night. Guess what? We have an hour tantrum about the pillow. Second night in a row. And I'm like, what is happening? I don't understand, God. Like, what do you want from me? Like, we are exhausted. So 2 nights in a row, she goes to sleep at 1 a.m. A 7-year-old.
Is this a new thing with the pillow, or has there been
It's a new thing. She's at home. She has her pillow that she likes, right? But we've traveled a lot. I have never heard anything about her pillow. And it's so funny. Last night I put her to bed and she started to say something about her pillow. And I'm like, hold up. This is your pillow that you like. We're not going there. And she smirked at me and she was like, okay. Like she almost tried it again. I'm like, no. This is your pillow that you like. Like this is not happening. I don't know. So definitely was difficult.
I'm so sorry. I don't know how you do it. The traveling
and we didn't come home till Thursday afternoon. I was hoping that they'd be in school Thursday, Friday before the 2-week break. So in the end, they were only in school on Friday, one day. So basically they're home for 3 weeks. And today's Monday. They don't have school. It's the first time I'm recording a podcast with my kids not in school. So we pray because my husband has them. He should be okay, but we never know. And like the morning I'm already like so exhausted. I'm like, what is so difficult? Like, get dressed, she's just a whole thing. And I turned to my husband and I'm like, how am I going to survive these next 2 weeks? He's like, I told him, I'm like, I'm not going to survive. He's like, what do you want me to say to that? What do you want me to say to that? I'm like, I'm just telling you that it's not working. He's like, well, there's no choice. So then I was like, but I want to be happy. Like, I want to have a good 2 weeks. Like, I don't want to be miserable. He's like, well, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I don't know what's in the cards, but oh my gosh. Yeah. And then I keep being hard on myself in the sense of like, you have to change your narrative. It's all about your attitude, all these things. And then my counter brain is like, I'm human and I'm tired and I don't know what I'm supposed to do. What am I supposed to do?
You're amazing. You're doing a great job. It is really
hard. It's hard.
It is hard.
Yeah.
You are going to do it, but it is really hard.
It's so important for me to like be happy and have fun and like not be miserable. So I think part of it is like it's not anxiety, but I already get down with or anticipating that it's going to be so hard. And I'm like, I want to have a good time with my kids. I want to have a fun break. And that's the part that like brings it home. It's like, I'll do it. It's hard, but I don't want it to be so hard. I want to have fun, But anyway, this is why I love you so much. Already you're giving me therapy and we didn't even start yet. This is a very good introduction to who you are and why it was like love at first sight, soul sisters.
Yes. Well, I love you and I care.
Yes, you do, which comes through. So I have to share how we met. I don't even know. How long ago has it been? 3 years?
I think it's been somewhere between 2.5 and 3 years.
Yeah, I would say somewhere around that time. And I've always been on a journey with my skin, right? It's a struggle. Interestingly enough, later in life, I mean, not like old, but like in my 20s is when I started to struggle with my skin. And there used to be, it's not open right now anymore, but there used to be this great skin shop in Bozeman called Glove. And they had it was such a nice store, and all the products were vetted and like were clean, and it was just, I loved it. Right. And I used to go there kind of just, just hang out, and the owner was really great and sweet. And I would go there for like suggestions for products, and kind of got to know her a little bit. And then she's like, I don't really do facials anymore, but I have an awesome person who does facials in the back of the store. And she's like, you really need to go to her. You need to book one. I'm like, okay. And twist my arm, right? Like, make me go to a facial. So I remember the first time I met you, and, we kind of went through the history of what I've been dealing with, and also talked about my lifestyle and like what goes on in my life and like what I have on my plate. And first of all, it was the most amazing facial experience. But afterwards, you said to me, I want to be part of your journey, and I want to be a person that's helpful and can be with you while we figure this out and be part of this. And I really want to help you. And however we need to make it happen, we're going to make it happen. And I looked at you, I'm like, you don't even know me. Why are you being so nice to me? Like, I was just like in awe. Like, I was just like, why? And I attribute it to a soul connection. And I came home to my husband, and he can attest to this. I was in a really bad state with my skin. Like, it was bad. And it takes a lot of energy to show up anyway, even when something that everybody sees and your skin is outside of your body, right? You can't hide it. And you could hide yourself, and you cannot show up and not show yourself online but I was really determined to not hide and to show up as I am. But that takes a lot of energy. And I was, I'm like, it's hard. And I came home and I told my husband, I'm like, God sent me an angel. I don't know how to express it any other way. And he was like, okay. But then he agrees after all these years, right? But at that moment, he's like, okay, if you say so. But that's what it felt like in my soul. I was like, wow, like God sent me somebody to walk with me through this. And as I come to you almost every week when I can, and we've become such good friends. And it's not about my skin anymore, hardly. Like, I come and I'm like, Linda, like I unload, and you hear all my shenanigans and all my stuff, and we share, and it became such a safe space for me to get my skin worked on, but also, like I always say, it's like a full body experience. It's not just about your face and your skin. It's about who I am as a person. And I think that's what makes you so unique. So that was a lot of babble from me. And I can't wait to hear from you. So I want to hear so many things, but let's start from the beginning. I want to hear a little bit about your background and where you grew up, and a little bit about your family. And then we'll continue, and then we'll go from there.
So every time someone asks me where I'm from, my answer is, it's complicated, but I'm always excited to share.
Yeah. I want to hear all the whole journey.
The whole journey.
The whole journey.
So I am half Korean and pretty much half Irish.
Wow.
My dad met my mom in Korea. He was in the Navy. They got married there, and she became pregnant with me, and they moved to the States. So I was born in Hawaii, which is kind of wild. And the side story to that is I married someone who grew up in a Navy family, and so did my sister.
Wow.
And so my husband and my brother-in-law were also both coincidentally born in Hawaii. My sister's the odd man out. So she's
no way. I didn't even know this.
Yeah. And so my husband and I actually very coincidentally were born in the exact same hospital in Hawaii. And so we didn't meet each other until
way later.
Decades later. But yeah, we share that experience in common. So we lived there for a while, and then we moved to Washington State, and that's where my sister was born.
Mm-hmm.
We moved then down to the Bay Area, and so lived in California for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Spent a brief amount of time on the East Coast, lived in Virginia and Florida.
Wow.
And
I can't
then,
imagine what it's like moving around that much. I want to hear about that, but after.
yeah. And then, and then lastly, I had the amazing opportunity to spend some of my middle school and high school years in Japan.
Wow.
And so after that, I moved back to the States and lived in Seattle for over 20 years and then moved out to Montana. So that's kind of my long,
Wow. The long short of it.
complicated. It's like, I think I consider
Yeah.
Seattle home at this point. We
Right.
have family there still. And then, a very long established community of friends.
And you've been there the longest, no?
Well, yeah. And
Yeah.
been there the longest.
Yeah. For amount of time. Okay. So what was it like
What was it like to move around a lot?
moving around? Like what was everyone has a different experience around that, but what was yours?
I think it depended on what phase of life I was in.
Mm-hmm.
There was definitely moments, I definitely remember growing up and there being times where it felt disruptive and disappointing to move.
Mm-hmm.
And then there were other times where it was exciting.
An adventure.
An adventure. I have a sister and just the one. And I think that it definitely helped us form a really unique bond because we have, that is a shared experience for us to move from those places together.
Yeah.
Even though we're 6 years apart and definitely our childhood experiences are different in each of those places.
Mm-hmm.
But I look back and am so grateful for all of those experiences. I think it built a lot of resiliency. For a long time, I like to identify myself as somebody who did not like change. But I always have to remind myself that, that has been my whole entire life experience.
Yeah.
So
Do you think that's why you were like, I don't like change, because you were reflecting on the experience of always having change?
I think it's because I'm a Cancer and I like to be comfortable and change does not necessarily lend to comfort. So.
I love that. Yeah. Yeah. But your whole life you were doing it. So did it feel like, because you're a Cancer, did it feel uncomfortable all the time and you were just like really resilient at adapting, or did you not reflect on that till later?
It's so hard, right? Because I was so young. I moved so many times between the time that I was born and then, till I was 18 and I left to go to college. And it's all relative, right?
Yeah.
Because I lived in Japan for almost 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that was a long amount of time. I felt really
compared to what, yeah. Like, wow, I'm here for more than 6 months.
Yeah, it felt like a huge chunk of stability. So, yeah, I mean, I think the disruption kind of was very short-lived in the experience of knowing that you had to move and then packing up and then moving. And there's always that being that first day of school and being the new kid. I think that's when I really think about it, that's probably one of the hardest parts.
The hardest parts, yeah.
And it was also a really different time too. People ask me do I still have friends from all of those different places I lived? And I don't.
Yeah.
In my experience personally, there was a little bit of pen paling that might have happened in the beginning, but we didn't have social media back then.
Much harder to keep in touch.
Much, much harder to keep in touch. Also, you didn't call people long distance because it was wildly expensive.
Yeah. I remember when I went away from home really young to go to high school. 8th grade was when I went away from home through high school. But it was in the States, so it wasn't a big deal to call. But I remember when I went to Israel for the year, and I think it was the first, cell phones were just a thing. But it was really expensive. And you would have your SIM card and whatever, all that stuff. And I would call home and my dad would be like, "Why are you calling? I just spoke to you." But it was a different time.
Yes.
And now my daughter Chaya is in high school in Chicago. And not only do they call all the time, which is great, because they should technically be living at home, but it's not only that, it's they have to video call. Yes. Right. And that's the thing. And her video call, she doesn't have FaceTime. It's an alternative thing that they use in their school, but it never works really well. And I'm like, just call like on the phone. We can have a much better conversation because like it's the video thing doesn't work that well. And she's like, but I like to see people when I
Yeah.
talk. And it makes so much sense for her, the time that she's living in. But I'm like, wow, like how times have changed. Not only are we calling every 5 minutes, but we're also have to see each other when we speak. And such a contrast to like when we were young and leaving home. And it's just like, you called once a week, and that was that. And never mind a video call. Like what that was unheard of.
Absolutely. We didn't have any idea what people look like real time.
I know. And it's really cool though, because when you live far from your family, which I do, far from all my family, because of the video chats, when you see them in real life, like when you get to visit and see them, it doesn't feel so jarring, right? Because you've been seeing them, it doesn't feel like, oh my gosh, I haven't like, it almost feels like you're more connected. That's the thing.
Absolutely. I mean, my nephew lives in the same town here in Bozeman, and like we FaceTime when we talk on the phone.
FaceTime. Like there's no such thing as calling. You have to FaceTime. No. Either you're texting or you're FaceTiming. There's no calling. So I want to hear about Japan. It's just like a unique experience. And what was it like going to school there and living in a totally different culture?
So I remember my parents picking Japan at the time because I was about 12 when we moved there. And we had, at that time, my sister and I had never visited Korea.
Okay.
And so they wanted us to be close enough to be able to go and visit where my mom was from.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was really exciting. It felt really exotic. The best way I can describe it is it felt like living on a different planet.
Yeah.
The culture is so different.
Yeah.
The language is different. Again, going back to, it was a different time. Like we did cell phones. The second half of living there, as I got closer to graduating, cell phones started to kind of become a thing, but definitely like I had one friend who had a cell phone.
Nobody had them.
Like, this huge deal, like was like, who are you even talking to on this thing? And everything that we got, because we lived on a military base, like was a lot later. It's almost like living in Bozeman. We're like kind of behind everybody else.
Yeah, the trends and the fashion.
Yeah, we're behind the trends. So, but even with like technology, it was my senior year in high school that I finally got an email address. And I really didn't even know what to do with that. So, now we have all of these amazing resources. Like we have these computers that we hold, in our pockets, and that we have things like translators that we can just hold the camera up and it'll translate a language or translate in real time what we want to say to somebody. I didn't have that.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I think that I developed while I was there became really introspective. Like there was a lot of internal processing. Like I would observe what was going on and just really not have a way to necessarily interact with someone about it. And I was also really young too. So I was very I was kind of intimidated and a little bit shy around people that I didn't know or experiences that were new.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's an amazing place. It's really cool. I mean, the fashion is so cool there. Music. I feel like the Japanese are amazing curators.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's a stereotype about the Japanese tourist. Like anywhere you go, you're going to see Japanese tourists. And I think that that's such an amazing thing that they encourage in their culture.
Yeah.
And so they go out and they have all these experiences and they learn about different people and different cultures. And then they bring it back and they kind of curate it into making it their own. And the other thing that I would say about living in Japan, particularly as a young person, is that it's incredibly safe.
Yeah.
And so at a very young age, probably not too long after I started living there, I could travel around on the trains and go explore, different
by
towns and all by myself. And like sometimes I would get lost because I didn't speak the language and wasn't able to read. And there was these moments of, I'm going to find my way home. And I did. And we had these things called phone cards. So
Yeah.
their payphones, which is also like a blast from the past, like payphones, what are
Yes.
payphones?
Yes.
Would take money, but they also took these prepaid cards that you would buy at like the convenience stores.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's, I would call my mom to let her know where I was
Yeah.
and I was running a little bit late. And
Yeah. But I think that is such a cool experience to have had at that age, because living in America, that is not the case. There's certain places that are safer than others, but you're not going and exploring on a train, the country, or the
yeah,
city alone and not having to worry about that. And I think, I don't know what I feel like that's so valuable to have the independence
yeah.
and to just be able to go explore. I don't know. I feel like that's really cool.
It was really amazing. I mean, and where we lived adjacent. The military base that we lived on was adjacent to Yokohama and Tokyo, which are two really major cities there.
Hmm.
So this wasn't like hanging out in suburbia. Like
Right. In
this
like
was
a
like
small town. You were in the
you were
city.
in the middle of cities of millions and millions of people, and it was very safe. And the food was amazing. People are very kind there. The default is reserved but kind when you interact with them. But whether or not you could get what you needed was questionable, definitely at the time.
Right.
Um, but yeah, the other cool thing about living in Japan was just the juxtaposition because, like I mentioned, like one minute you're in the city and then the other minute you could be in the mountains in like a really quiet town and, at a Buddhist temple and having a completely different experience. And,
Right.
it's like a 30-minute train ride.
Yeah. From what I understand, like Tokyo and like the big cities are packed with people. Like,
Yeah.
and it's a big city. It's like so urban, right? And then you go to what's the like Kyoto or something, and it's much more zen and quiet and right? Like that's
But I will say they do crowds really
really
well there,
wow. Yes,
right?
like how
Like,
do they like I want to know how they pull that off. Like what do they do?
so I think that, no,
Everyone's very orderly.
yeah, I mean, and I think that this kind of goes with my experience in traveling to Korea as well, is that, I think that culturally there's a mentality around the whole as opposed to the individual. And that
Mhm.
lends really well to crowded spaces. Like people are, the way that people operate, it's considering the group and how do we move as a whole as opposed to just
Me
my
as
own
my own person.
motivations. Yeah.
So that's really interesting because I feel like there's always two sides to the coin, right? Because there is this whole idea of like the consideration of the whole. And in America, we're really bad at that. Like everything's about how we feel and what's good for us. And we very rarely, especially in big spaces, are really paying attention to the bigger picture, which I think we could use some help on. But what's the flip side of that, right? Is there less individualism? Is there more conformity? Is there less freedoms? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah. I think it can be all of those things. I have to say, like, I was still an American living in Japan.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I didn't live that with I
Yeah.
those parameters.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I know that there is just a very high bar for performance there.
Yes.
I just remember like I went to school on a military base with American students,
Hmm.
but you know, we would walk by the Japanese students. I mean, they go to school, they have like school before school, they have school after school. Like they are always studying. They have, crazy exams. There's a lot of pressure in that
Pressure.
culture. And I think that
Yeah.
they're kind of notorious for that. And it's interesting. I hear, I haven't been there in many years. I hear lots of stories about how culturally it's evolving and the younger generations want something different. And so it'd be interesting to
Yeah, it's interesting to
see
see how
how that changes.
that plays out. And I think that that kind of happens everywhere, right? Like the different generations are asking for something else. It just is curious how much leeway and how much room do you have to express that? And I think in different countries, it's different, right? In America,
Yeah.
you can say whatever you want to say, you know?
Yep.
And I'm sure Japan is somewhere in the middle. And then you go to like, you know, countries in the Middle East where you can't say anything, right?
Yep.
So it's so fascinating. And I think it's very cool to have had that experience and also recognizing the challenges that come along with moving and being in a different country. Like I think everything in life is that way. Everything in life has the two sides to it, and
Yeah.
the more challenging part and the positive parts, and like kind of like what we were talking about earlier, which I struggle in my life to constantly balance is like, you know, my life is good, right? There's always the way that you're looking at your experiences, and sometimes we're not in a great place. So all the negativity kind of rises up and is before us. And that's what we're focused on. And then there's times where we're in a better place and we can see the positives more. But really the all the outside influences stayed the same. It's just kind of like where we're at. And that's what I struggle with. I'm like, how do I get to a place when I'm not in a good place and the negatives are kind of rearing its head? And I'm like, but I want to get to the place where I can see it in a more positive light. And I just don't know how to do that a lot of the times.
But I think already, Javi, like the fact that you're able to see yourself in that moment and then want something different
Yeah. Yeah.
is so profound.
You think so?
Yes, because I think a lot of us feel frustration and
Yeah.
don't even get to that next part of like,
Okay.
we're
What do I want
feeling
to?
frustrated
Yeah.
because we want something different.
Yeah. That's so true. It's so true. Okay. So high school in Japan, where did you go to college?
So I went to college at the University of Washington in Seattle. And
Okay.
so I will say that that in of itself was a
Yeah.
wild experience
I
because,
can only imagine. Seattle is a wild place.
and it's such a different place
So
today than
different.
it was then.
Yeah.
So I tell this story, like you know, integrating back into American culture was really, I mean,
Yeah.
like I lived this really weird hybrid life in Japan. It was very, know, I kind of lived this in this really unique bubble. Like I lived
Hmm.
on a military base. I went to school at a military school, but I lived in Japan. So I got
Right.
to kind of experience that too.
Hmm.
So it was this hybrid of an American and Japanese lifestyle. But then I come back to the United States and I've been in this bubble
Bubble.
and I come back and I'm by myself.
Wow, that's scary.
I'm away from my family and I am like, okay, so here we are. I'm going to college. I'm
Yeah.
independent, adult, and I know
Yes.
everything, and I'm going to be
Yes. Yes. I have one of those.
yeah. And that it's funny, right? I tell everybody these days. So 45 years old now, and I tell everybody every day I feel like I know less about the world than I did yesterday.
Right? Yes. But when you're 19 and 20 and 21 in college, you think you've figured it all out and
So,
right? Oh my
but
gosh.
so I came from this place where things were going on all the time. It's very busy in Japan. And then I remember at that time, Seattle was not, it wasn't as, it isn't the Seattle that it is today. Like we think of
Hmm.
Seattle as a big city, we think of it
Right.
as having all of these resources, very diverse. And I remember there's a University Ave. It's like this main street right next to the university. And I remember it was like, before school started, I was there for orientation. I was standing on the Ave. I think I might have been in the middle of the street, and it was like 6 p.m. at night, and there was nothing going on. There was no other people. There was nothing going on. And
Really?
anybody who's familiar with with the Ave in Seattle at this point. That's you'll never be alone on the Ave these days. Like it was just
Right.
a totally different time. I think the things that were big, like culture shock for me was just one, transportation. So I went to college, didn't have a car. The bus system there was not great. Seattle now has an amazing light rail system, streetcar system. Public transportation is, I'm sure that if you live there and you're operating through the
The
public
system.
transportation system, you probably still have some,
You'll have something to say about it.
you'll have something to say about it. But the fact that it is what
Is
it is today is leaps and bounds beyond what it was at that time. So it was really hard to get around.
yeah.
So I felt really isolated. The food that I was used to eating was not the same. Seattle is definitely evolved, but in the past, there's a thing called the Seattle freeze, and it's kind of this reputation that Seattleites have about kind of being cold. People don't generally make eye contact or say
Mm-hmm.
hi when you walk by somebody walking down the street. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, all that was
I experienced that when we were just there in the summer. We talked about it. I'm like, I was so surprised because I kind of see like Washington, Montana, like I kind of see us in the same part of the country. And I was like, people are not very nice in Seattle and Washington. And I was like, coming from Montana, which is like probably one of the nicest,
people are very friendly here.
like, yeah, very friendly state, genuinely like interactive with each other, you know? And that was not our experience in Washington. I don't want to I'm not making any blanket statements. If you're from Washington, don't worry. I love Washington. But my experience of being there for a weekend, traveling around and going to more touristy type of places and local places, and it's just a very different vibe. Like not super
Yeah.
friendly.
Yeah. So yeah, all of those things
But it
were
caught me so off guard. I was not expecting it. And you're like, yeah, that's very well known about Seattle. I'm like, I didn't know this. Yeah, we talked about it being like a little bit due to like the weather, just
yeah,
the constant rain and
cultural differences.
yeah. But that must have been hard being alone in a
Yeah.
place where not only is it culturally different when you go to different places in America, but you're coming from a different country.
Yeah.
So what did you do? Like, how did you navigate that? Like,
I got really lucky. I met some people my first couple of weeks while I was there who are still my dear friends all of these years later. So,
yeah, you met your people.
I think it was really about community and finding people. And I think that's what it always comes down to.
Yeah,
This
it really
connection.
is true. You have to, wherever you go, if you're going to be there for an extended amount of time, you got to find your people.
Yeah.
It's so important. And sometimes it's really hard to do. And I think as adults, it's even harder. There's so much conversation around making friends as an adult, But so what were you studying in college?
So I went to school. I was kind of a stereotype, but my mom's Korean, so I was supposed to be a lawyer. My sister was supposed to be a doctor, and we weren't allowed to be anything else.
Interesting.
So I started getting ready for business school, and I ended up not loving it, and so really had a hard time. I was really homesick those first couple of years being in school, and really struggled with that. And kind of to go back a little bit, I mean, when I reflect back, like it was a really hard reintegration back into living in the States, not having like my support system. And I was really, really family oriented. So really just kind of had like a little bit of an identity crisis, trying to, on one hand, be this like young, independent woman, but like really realizing like this was really hard.
I miss my family.
Yeah, I miss my family. Like, who am I? And so I ended up taking a little bit of a break from school, which was hard. I had always been, a really studious student and like wanted to do really well,
Driven.
like always made all the hit all the milestones like before that I was supposed to hit them. Like it was those
An
things that are really important
overachiever.
to me. Overachiever type A.
Yeah.
And I just wasn't having that experience in college. And so that was
Wow. That
really,
must have been really
really
hard.
tough. It was
Yeah.
really tough. So took some time off, which in the moment felt really scary. Like, was I gonna, everybody was like, well, once you take a break, it's hard to go back.
Right. Right.
But I did. I went back. I decided that, it was important for me to finish, but I wanted to pivot. And so decided to focus on something that I was interested in. So I decided to get an interdisciplinary studies degree, which essentially is a fancy word for liberal studies.
Mm-hmm.
And I focused on culture, literature, and art. I loved humanities. So I just wanted to read and learn
Yeah.
about cultural, cultural topics and
Yeah.
write papers. And I really ended up enjoying the last couple of years of school. And
That's awesome.
so,
Yeah.
but yeah, during that time when through college, I worked for most of it and I spent a lot of time working in retail. I got to work for some really cool companies. And so when I finished school,
What? I want to hear. I love
so,
retail. Talk to me about retail.
well, you'll love this one. I don't know that we've ever talked about. So I
Yeah.
worked for Nordstrom.
That's so cool.
I spent a good amount of time. I kind of joke around that Nordstrom was my grad school. So I got to work in a couple of different managerial positions at Nordstrom in the shoe department.
Ooh.
Yeah.
What are the perks of working in the shoe department? That's what I want to know.
Oh man,
Do you get
trying
perks?
on all the new shoes. The you come in the morning and there would just be pallets of, new shoes that were showing up to the shoe department and pulling out your size and trying on whatever the latest and greatest was. That was the best part.
Oh my gosh. Did you end up buying a lot of shoes when you were working there?
So many shoes. There was a point in which my husband and I moved in together. I had 2 closets of shoes and I had to really
share.
go through and curate my collection.
Yeah.
I always admire and all the really cute shoes that you wear. And
Oh my gosh.
it's kind of sad. I cannot really wear high heels anymore.
Well, you know what? Neither can I. When I wore them in the dinner just last week, I'm like, I am not cut out for this anymore. Like I can't walk in heels. When in Montana do I wear heels ever? So for a special occasion, but I feel it. I'm like, I cannot do this.
Oh, it does not. Yeah, it
It
definitely
feels
does not feel the
horrible.
same.
Oh my gosh. But you told me you used to wear crazy shoes.
Yeah, super. Yeah, high heels. I loved it. Fancy shoes. I am that. I am that woman. I love shoes.
Yeah.
I think that the cool thing about shoes is it doesn't matter what your body type is or style. There's their shoes are just such a fun accessory. They have so much personality.
Yes. I always say it doesn't matter what size you are and if you're feeling good about your body or bad, whatever. You can always find a pair of shoes. They will always be your friend.
Yes. I love that about shoes.
Yeah.
So I did that. And that kind of led into, I started managing people. And I think I had a department at one point where I had maybe, I think I had a management team of 3 but 55 people at one point working under me. And
I bet you were really good at that.
I was really young, so I actually don't know how good I was. I think I've learned a lot of different things through that time. I was definitely the person I thought I was good at it in the sense that I wanted to take on all of the hard stuff and all the responsibility. And what I did not do well is I did not delegate well.
You learn that as you get older.
You learn that as you go, right? And because delegating isn't just about making things easier for you, it's about empowering other people and giving them opportunities. And I think that when I look back at maybe that last big retail job I have, I think about the management team and I think that I could have done better for them. And I thought at the time that I was taking on all of
you were
the hard
protecting
stuff
them
and I was protecting
not asking
them.
of them. Yeah.
But these are things that you learn. So I learn.
I relate to that because just living here in my life, it's really hard to ask for help.
Yeah.
And I also grew up in an environment where that really didn't happen. And I learned on my journeys that with some maturity and with some, like, it's almost like it's in a little bit of an ego thing too. It's like letting go, right? And allowing people to help you. And also recognizing that you need the help. Like, you can't do it alone. And being in Montana where I'm not close to family and I have a wonderful community and people would ask me all the time, can I help? And in the beginning, I'm like, no, I'm fine, I'm good. And now, oh my gosh, you ask me if I need help. I'm like, I'll say yes before I don't even know what I'm going to ask you to do, but I'm saying yes because I need the help. And it's been, I don't know, it's been a long time that I've been able to do that, but it just gets, as with age, and maturity and like letting go of like, you're still a good functional person, even though you need help, right? I think we have this idea that we need to do it all and we need to have it all figured out. And if we need help, then we don't have it together and we're not excelling. And I'm just like, you offer me help and I will say yes.
I'd like to think, I talk to, I have a really unique position in that I get to talk to a lot of women and I get to talk to a lot of women in our age group.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to think that culturally there's a big shift happening where we are like women of our age group are getting really good at allowing people to help us.
Yeah.
Which I think is a really beautiful reciprocal experience, right? Because we oftentimes want to help other people.
Yes.
So much, so like deeply and so genuinely. And, it not only, it feels good to help somebody, but also, feels good to also be able to play that role.
Yes.
And I think that something that in the past that maybe, we have gotten stuck on is that it feels good for the other person to help you too, right? We get so focused in our own experience and then the not wanting to burden others that we forget that, no, that other person wants to have that experience too.
Yes. And whatever I've experienced, I've actually had this conversation with my mom a bunch of times. It's like, if you're going to be the person that only offers to help and never accepts help, it starts to feel uncomfortable. And then people aren't like, they're not going to want it from you because it's not you're not on an equal playing field. Right. And it's like, if people like, you want to have a give and take relationship, you can't only be the person that's giving. You have to be able to take also, because then people trust you more when you want to give.
Yes.
Right. Do you find that to be true?
I absolutely. I mean, I'll speak from my own experience. I definitely find that. And I feel like there becomes a closer bond.
Yeah.
It like there's and that I think that's where kind of true community starts to really to flourish, right?
Because if you're never accepting help or you're never being on the receiving end, there's no vulnerability there, right? You're like, you're keeping up those walls. And in order for, I find that when you're vulnerable, people can be vulnerable back. But if you're going to be the one on the top, always just giving out the help and never being vulnerable enough to accept it or to share something beneath the surface, it doesn't end up, it doesn't end up playing out in a equal footing relationship, Yeah.
And I also think that there's so much learning that happens on the receiving end. When
so much.
Right? When you allow someone to do something for you, you learn so much from that experience, not only from that person, but also in your own experience as the receiver, right?
Yes. I always think about when I'm trying to be there for somebody else or help somebody else, I always try to think about like, what does it feel like for me to be on the receiving end and how would I want it to look and how would I want to be met, right? And like, I don't know, I think about that stuff a lot.
Well, you're also a very thoughtful person.
But I do, like, I always, like, I think because when you end up being on the receiving end or when you end up being in situations and experiences that are so out of your control and they're so vulnerable and you end up really becoming more sensitive and aware of what goes on for other people.
Yeah.
And I always like some of the things that I've been through has been really hard, but I'm always grateful for the part of it that has allowed me to be a more sensitive and understanding person. And I think that comes with the experience. Some people are born more empaths, right? But there's something unique about becoming an empath through lived experiences, not just as a personality.
Yeah.
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 Okay, so you worked in Nordstrom and then what?
I started to realize that I didn't love the sales part of the job as much as I really loved the people part of the job. And so I
Mm-hmm.
started to get really curious about human resources type
Interesting.
jobs.
Yeah.
So I eventually got into recruiting and I liked that. There's some sort of easy transition that happens. Like I feel like recruiting is kind of the sales job of the human resource
Humans.
world,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You're selling a company to candidates, you're selling candidates to hiring managers. So there's a kind of a transition point in there. And then I had the amazing opportunity that I worked in human resources at Microsoft. And I got to do that in a couple different capacities for over 10 years. And I
Wow.
did different jobs from recruiting to business management to employee relations, business partners to executives.
Wow.
Got to work on some really cool projects, everything from systems changes internally to mergers and acquisitions. And so lived a
Wow.
very different life. I
Yeah.
feel like I've lived many different
Yeah,
lives
you've done
in
a lot of
my
different things. So did you enjoy that?
I loved it.
You loved it.
I loved it. I mean,
Wow.
people always ask, like, what is it like to work at X, Y, or Nordstrom or Microsoft?
Microsoft
And
or
when you're working for big companies like that, it's always a very unique experience. It depends on who your leadership team is, who your managers are, who are the people that you work with. And I got really lucky. I had amazing experiences. Yeah, sounds kind of cliche, but incredibly grateful for
yeah.
all of the opportunities that I was given. I really found myself there. And like,
Yeah.
I remember the first day of my first job, sitting in my office at Microsoft. And I was like, I think they made a mistake. I'm like, I'm not smart enough to work here. And
Wow.
like the people that
Yeah.
I was
I can
around, the
relate to
conversations
that.
that were
Yeah.
happening, I was like,
You're like, "Oh my God,
there's
how
no
did I
way.
end up
Like
here?"
I'm so the fact that I was there for as long as I
Well, you're
was, I
obviously
am
were
so
smart
I'm
enough and
so humbled.
yeah.
I'm so humbled. But yeah, I had an amazing career and I love that job. And what happened for me was there were a lot of cultural shifts happening.
Mhm.
Uh, I worked the last handful of years that I worked there. There were some major things happening in the world that definitely impacted the workplace. Things like the
Mm.
Me Too movement,
Oh, wow. I can't
Black Lives
imagine
Matter movement happened
being like an HR.
in HR, right?
That
So,
is a really significant impact.
right. And so
Yeah.
there were and particularly for a human resources function, there were a lot of really big conversations happening about, you know, how does that impact the workplace and how do we want to show up as a company? And I'm so proud of where I worked. I think that Microsoft does a really amazing job as the word that I was looking for, but essentially like of taking
There are
care of its
people.
really
Yeah.
want to do what right by people.
Mhm.
And so I always felt that there was an alignment in my personal values and where I worked. And that was really important for me. But it, the work got heavy.
Mhm.
And then my own experiences got really heavy in my
Mhm.
personal life
Mhm.
and in professionally. And they started to take a toll.
Mhm.
I think like most of us, I mean, there's stress and burnout that happens.
Oh, for sure. Yes.
And I started to experience that. And so we kind of talked a little bit about Seattle changing.
Yeah.
So Seattle This was probably around 2016 through 2018. So I moved to Bozeman in 2018. Seattle had changed pretty dramatically. At one point, I had heard a statistic that there were like 5,000 new people moving to Seattle, like I think every 3 months or something like that.
Wow.
There was a lot of, Amazon was doing incredible amount of hiring. They had bought a huge part of the South Lake Union area in Seattle and were just building out their enormous campus there. And you could feel the density change in Seattle and that people were feeling squished.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, yeah, there was a lot of tension, a lot of traffic. I always laugh in Bozeman when people, I know it's all relative, but people will complain about the traffic in Bozeman. And I would tell people like my commute from the office to home was 15 miles. And sometimes it took me 2 hours.
Oh my lordy Lord.
So,
That's
this
crazy.
is like we started to have conversations about, how do we want to, spend our time
Yeah.
and what
Yeah.
does life look like? Meanwhile,
Quality of life.
quality of life. Meanwhile, my sister and my brother-in-law, my brother-in-law is from Montana and they had moved out here. I think it was like in 2012. My brother-in-law went back to get a second degree at MSU, and they decided that they were just going to stay here and they wanted to raise their family here. And so we had been coming out here and visiting and really enjoyed the time that we spent with
Mm-hmm.
them
Mm-hmm.
and were itching for a change. And so my husband was working remotely at the time. I was working remotely at the time. We had this really unique situation where we were like, we could just move,
Free as a bird to move
which was
wherever.
an interesting
Yeah.
thing for a unexpected place for us to come to because we never
Yeah.
thought we would move from Seattle. Like we felt really
Yeah.
established there. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I just found myself really needing a change. And so we moved here.
I'm so glad you did.
I'm so glad I did too.
And then you moved right into COVID.
And then we moved here and then COVID happened. So that, you know, added a whole nother layer of, I don't know,
Complexity to life.
complexity, stress.
Yeah.
And so I found myself really I needed to change. I was
Yeah.
not well. Stress was really getting to me. And
Mm.
I just needed a big change. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I had been trying to brainstorm, like, what was my pivot going to be? Like,
Mm.
what was I going to do next? I mean, I thought for a while of maybe opening up a plant store or, I was open to
So many
pretty
different
much
things.
anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
And my sister had been kind of encouraging me to go to aesthetic school. And it was really out of, I was like, I don't
It's like,
know.
that's very different than what you've been doing.
I'm like, well, that's interesting. And she has her own really amazing story that is hers to tell.
Yeah. Yeah.
She is also, so she was not an esthetician. She is now an esthetician too. We both became estheticians kind of at the same time, serendipitously. We do different things,
Mm-hmm.
but it's something that she had been exploring as well. And I decided, it's like, so desperate to really do something different. And I just wanted something that would feel good and
Aligned.
feel, yeah, just, and not heavy. I was looking to get away from heavy work. Like I really like people. I felt like just the work had gotten really heavy for me.
Were you working the Microsoft job remotely when you got
Yeah,
here?
I was. Yeah.
Okay. And it just
Yeah.
became very stressful and difficult. And
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, it was COVID. It was
Yeah.
deep COVID.
Yeah.
We were trying to solve all kinds of issues. I mean,
I cannot even
I don't
imagine
think it
being.
was none of it was unique to the company that I was working for. It was just,
Yeah, it was the time and the position, and you were in
yeah,
HR, so the position that you were in, cannot
yeah.
even imagine how stressful that was.
Yeah. I mean, think about all of these people that had been working. Some of these people, the team that I was working with were people who generally traveled a lot.
Hmm.
And so spent most of their time traveling. And then were suddenly like isolated in their homes, right?
Gosh, yeah.
Just,
Oh my
it's,
gosh. Yikes.
yeah. So I don't move fast on anything. I think that people who know me really well, it takes the time between when I start to actually think about making a change and when I actually make the change. There's usually a good chunk of time that happens. That passes.
Yeah.
I think I had toured the aesthetics school maybe even like a year before I actually made the decision to do it.
Okay. Wow.
And then I did it. I decided that I left my job and mid COVID, wearing a mask, I went to aesthetics school and
Wow.
it was a wild 6 months.
It's really interesting to me because me coming to you, and I started, I'd say 2.5, 3 years ago, I would never in a million years think that this is something that you were new to or that you haven't been doing for so many years because you're so knowledgeable and I think you also are very analytical. Like that what you
Yeah.
just said, like it takes you a long time to make a decision.
Yeah.
The flip side of that is that you're really thorough and
Yeah.
in your what you provide and what you advise and how you approach the skin and how you approach the full person. It's not just about the skin, right? It's like you as a full person. And I don't know, I think it amazes me that this is something that's newer to you. I don't know. It feels like you were born for this. I don't know.
Oh, thanks, Javi. That's really nice. Well, I think for me, like part of it is also just coming into something new at a different part of my life. Like
Mhm.
making a career change is starting over, but in so many ways, it's not. Like I got to bring all of the experiences of my past with me.
Yes.
And
Yes. And you
so
can
even
see
though I'm
that.
doing something different,
Yeah.
I'm applying a lot of those learnings. But your words are really kind. For me, like integrity is kind of my guiding light in everything that I do. And I learned that very, very early on in all of my careers is that I wanted to, wherever I was and whatever I did, I wanted to be able to do it with integrity and honesty
Yeah.
and be able to just do right by people. One of the hardest things that I had going through aesthetic school is, and we can get in, and this will be kind of a segue into
Yeah.
how I practice, but
Yeah.
we would learn about, we would be using certain skincare, but at the same time, we would be learning about ingredients and things that were good or not good for you and the contradictions in that. And that was really frustrating for me.
Yeah.
I'm of this mindset of like, if you know better, you have to
Y-
do better,
Right.
which is not always easy
Yeah.
in the beauty industry.
The beauty industry is so, I mean, so overwhelming, right? There's so much out there, so much information, so many products. Like I want to hear how, first of all, how you approach your practice and and skin and what are your ethos and values as an esthetician.
So I'm a holistic esthetician, and the why I call myself a holistic esthetician is that the way that I approach skin is really a whole systems approach. You talked about, in the beginning of this conversation about your face and, how, this is something that we put forward. And I think our face really, we talk about this a lot, right? Our face is not only the way that other people see us, but it's when we look at our face is telling us a story, right?
Hmm.
Whether
Hmm.
it's that we're really healthy or maybe that there is some sort of imbalance going on. Like, I feel like whatever's going on in our face is our body's way of communicating to us. Like, you cannot look away. Like, you have to see whatever is happening.
Yeah. Like you have to pay attention.
And so going back to the holistic part, I mean, for me, like, yes, I focus on skin health. I work specifically, primarily on the face. But for me, it's generally about understanding how the body works in order to optimize for good facial skin health.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I really believe that it's so much more than products, although products can be fun and definitely, particularly if you live in a really harsh climate like we do, need to be a part of the equation.
Yeah.
I think that in general, the beauty industry leads us to thinking that we need a lot more than we actually do. It is definitely a industry that I think that we forget, it gets real. I think the wellness industry in general has gotten really wellness/beauty industry has gotten really tricky
Yes.
because we think of these things as we're doing these things, we're buying these things to make ourselves healthier. And they've really become these multi-billion-dollar industries that are really about selling you stuff. And so it's
Yeah.
become really complicated to kind of filter through what
Is a
is
value. What's actually
a
valuable?
value, right? And then there are layers to that. It's different for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, kind of going back to my practice and my ethos is, for me, I feel like my responsibility, my goal is actually to help people connect with themselves. I'm here to support and be a resource, but ultimately, I really want I want you to be able to trust yourself, the signals that your body is telling you, your intuitions about what's right for you. And yeah, I just want to be here to kind of help guide and answer questions because like I just said, like it is a very complex industry and
Yeah.
it's getting that way. I mean, it's complex for me.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so hard, especially when you're just a regular person who is just inundated with so much information and so many products, and each one claims to be the best and it's going to solve all your problems.
Yeah.
And this is really why I wanted to have this conversation with you, because I wanted to I wanted to share a little bit about what I receive from you when I come, and that's really what it has been. It's we work on my skin. Of course we work on my skin, but it's exactly what you said. It's really like understanding the whole system of how our body works and making space for the the journey through it and the making sense of it. And I think what really was so profound for me was it almost felt like this safe container, or like a embrace of like, okay, like, yes, we have some problems going on in our skin, right? And I'm going to support you through it. And this is going to be a process. And you also are more than your skin, right? Like,
Yeah.
because sometimes when you look in the mirror and you're just like, it's so hard to separate, you know, us being like a good, fun person. And then we look at ourselves and it's just like, oh my gosh, how do we even face it?
Do you remember talking early on about affirmations?
Yes.
Like we had a really, I, I love the conversations that you and I have because
We have the best conversations when I'm on the table.
I, I totally agree. I wanted you to, because and this is so common for so many people, is like we're angry at what's going on with our body. And
Mhm,
for
mhm.
people in my treatment room, generally it's the skin. You're frustrated and it hurts you and different people's experiences. Like
You
it's
have all these
hurtful,
negative
it's
emotions around
frustrating,
it. Yeah.
lot of negative emotions around it. And the reality of it is stress is a big part of the equation. It's the part of the equation that's the hardest part of the equation to address, in my opinion.
For sure.
Even more difficult than some of the genetic stuff, because changing stress is changing lifestyles, and sometimes that's not possible, which is another thing we can get into about another
Mhm.
conversation you and I had. But
Yeah.
I had wanted you to start speaking to yourself, to your skin, using, different language, like different narrative.
Yeah. Kinder.
To
Chancellor.
change the energy, right?
Yeah.
Like it's to have a different energy exchange. And I love that you had told, we had this conversation around like you were open to affirmations. It's something that you've used in the past, but what was really important to you was that it had to be authentic. You couldn't say something to yourself that wasn't true. You weren't going to be like, I love the way you look, skin, like, because you didn't
Mm-hmm.
at the
Mm-hmm.
time. Like you
Mm-hmm.
didn't like what you were, but it was, I think where we landed was around resiliency, like
Mm-hmm.
acknowledging that you knew that you were resilient and that you could trust that your skin was resilient. And that was like a good starting place.
Yes. And I remember, which was a huge thing for me in the transformation of how my skin didn't change right away. And it's still, I mean, we just, in the last few months, we had a flare up, and I think I'm finally like coming out of that, and it happens. But what happened for me was how I felt about it and how I moved through it. I started to look in the mirror. I started to talk to my skin in the mirror, and it was really crazy. But I've done, and it really is crazy. But it wasn't so unfamiliar with it because I did that a lot with my digestive system. I used to talk to my digestive system because it was so messed up, and I lost trust in it, right? And so I had to gain back the trust, like.
Yep.
I know how to digest food. I'm going to be okay. Like, right. So that I did something similar with my skin. I would look at my skin and I'd be like, it's not how I want it to look right now, but I'm grateful for my skin. I'm grateful for its resilience. I'm grateful that it's teaching me and showing me, right? And I would just start to have a different narrative around it. And it sounds so crazy, but it goes back to what we spoke about in the morning, right? Like when you can shift perspective and take away some of that angst around it, it really, really, really had a significant impact. I can't tell you like all of a sudden my skin cleared up, but it was a huge part of the journey, which
Yeah.
is also like, as I'm trying to clear up my skin, it just wasn't as urgent, and it wasn't as stressful, and it wasn't as painful as it was moving through with the support of you and going through and just using those affirmations and coming at it from a different perspective. And then the other conversation we had, which you can speak to, is I told you, I think that first time, right? I'm like, listen, this is my life. Like it's not changing anytime soon. So, because a lot of practitioners want to come and tell you like, okay, you have to change this and this is this, and you have to manage your stress. And I'm like, listen, I have a very high stress life. I manage it in the best way I can. And I think I do a pretty good job of the tools that I've adopted into my life to manage my stress. But other than that, like the circumstances of my life aren't changing.
It was one of the first things that you said, because truly, and I have this conversation with all of my clients who are looking for help, is skin health is so much more than what we put on our skin.
Mm-hmm.
It has to do with lifestyle. It has to do with environment. It has to do with diet. It has to do with genetics. It's really about what you're willing to change or able to change.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's going to look different for everybody. And that's okay. But I think it's just understanding those parts of the puzzle and then just being honest with what you're willing and can do. And for me, that was, I appreciated I still to this day, like I think about those words
Yeah.
so often, you have no idea, and how much I really appreciated, because you set really clear expectations with me.
Yeah.
My life is not going to change. My life is not suddenly I'm not going to start reprioritizing things. Like I have a really stressful job, life, obligations,
Family. Yeah.
commitments. And honestly, that was one of the biggest motivations of why I wanted to help, is
Mm-hmm.
because I saw I saw what you were going through. I had such an amazing, I had just had such a huge appreciation for how you were showing up for everybody else. And I wanted to show up for you.
I
And
know. I felt it. That's why I said, I was like, somebody cares. God sent me an angel. And the crazy thing is that it's been a journey. Like it such slow but big at the same time. Right. But like
yep,
such visibly slow progress. And that also was part of it. And you told that to me also. You're like, this is going to take a while, like don't expect, magical significant change. And we've really uncovered so many things. And I know when you work on me, there's so much of my skin that has to do with how my body's lymphatic system is working. And you actually spent a lot of time, not even doing anything with my skin, but, working on my lymphatic, by my neck and all that stuff like that's not draining properly. And I just really appreciate that holistic, full body approach like we talked about before, right? Like yes, your skin is what's showing you what's going on. And I also used to come with you and have a lot of shame around that. Remember? Because I would be like,
yep,
if my skin's telling me that I'm not okay, right? And I'm like,
yeah,
but I do so much to be okay. And it just feels like a slap in the face that's like, no matter
yeah,
what you do, you're still not okay. And I really struggled with accepting that or just letting that be, because I was like, it made me feel shame. It made me feel like I'm still not enough. I'm still not doing enough. I'm still haven't reached the pinnacle of, well, no one ever reaches the pinnacle, but I still haven't reached my optimal health, where my body is
yeah,
aligned and not inflamed. And like, I would get exasperated. I'm like, what else do you want from me?
yeah. Well, so part of that equation was doing less.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Let's talk about that.
Yeah. So to go into the skincare part of it is, you were trying, you were willing to try anything almost. I mean,
Yeah.
before you had met me, you had already kind of gotten to the place of that you were aware of ingredients and wanted to use things that were
Cleaner.
more organic
Hmm.
and that, I don't know how else to say it, like non-toxic,
Hmm.
like mindful of what you're putting in your body, which I think is super important. And something that, it's these things I always have to remind myself that it's important to share because that's what I do every day and it's
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
second nature. But for most of us, we don't understand things like, our what we put on our skin, our body absorbs almost 70% of it into our bloodstream. And
Hmm.
so it's basically like eating. So whatever you're putting on your skin, you should really think about it at the same level, pretty much
Right.
as what
What you put into your
you're
body. Yeah.
putting into your body through your mouth. So the trick with that is what we eat is there are regulations around how our food is handled and processed by the FDA. The only skincare product that is regulated by the FDA is sunscreen. And so skincare does not fall under any sort of FDA regulation. So, for example, in the European Union, they ban over 1,300 ingredients that can go into skincare. In the US, we only ban 11. So
Yeah. Isn't that amazing?
it's wild. And so there's a lot out there that can be not great for us or
Hmm.
definitely questionable.
Hmm.
So it
Hmm.
gets really hard to navigate that.
Yeah, especially when you're wanting like the results, right? And a lot of those ingredients get you the results, but maybe temporarily, or they cause other,
Yeah.
ramifications. But I was also really clear, like I wasn't going to do Accutane. I wasn't going to do
Yep.
anything that was detrimental to my health. And I also, we could talk about in a few minutes, but like, I don't really want to do any invasive or
Yep.
procedures or fillers or whatever those are, what do they call those, all those types of treatments?
Just
Yeah.
more invasive treatments. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, Javi, like you were my perfect client. Like
Yeah.
those are the parameters of which I work
Yeah.
in. Like
Yeah.
I don't do non-invasive treatments. I spend a lot of time researching products and modalities to make sure that they are supportive of the system.
I
I
love that.
truly
Yeah.
believe that our bodies are amazing things in of themselves. They're trying to do is keep us alive and heal us. Like our
Yeah.
body's just trying to heal itself constantly.
Hmm.
And I think that, going back to like environment and lifestyle, unfortunately, we just live in harsh environments and culturally have developed these lifestyles that aren't necessarily full of healthy habits.
Yeah.
And when it comes to skincare, the last thing I want to do is create another variable that is stressful for our system. I think that the best thing I can do as an esthetician is just how do I help support and nourish your system? And in different words, I felt like that's what you were asking for. And
Hmm.
so you were
Hmm.
my perfect client. I was like, okay, these are some very specific parameters in which you are looking for somebody to work with you
Hmm.
around. And I was like, done, let's do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. You shared with me that your approach to skin is the nourishing approach, not the like stripping. Can you talk about that?
A little bit
Yeah.
like so a couple different ways to talk about that.
Yeah.
So, one, I will say like a lot of the more popular approaches to quote unquote skincare on the market these days have to do with changing the way that our skin works or creating micro injuries to stimulate a healing response. You see
Hmm.
those like in peels and some of the lasers. I mean, even microneedling, which, I can actually get behind in some situations. Truly, it's about understanding that that is actually creating a micro injury, and that's why these procedures and some products are not for everyone.
Yeah.
One of my favorite soapboxes to kind of get on is about retinoids.
Hmm.
If you're on social media, you've probably seen some sort of meme that says, if you're 30, you need to be using retinol. And there is nothing that everybody needs to be using.
Yeah.
Most people don't actually know that, retinoids are considered toxic and that they are not safe for pregnant or breastfeeding people. And that's kind of another part of my own personal philosophy is if it's not safe for somebody from a toxicity level that is pregnant or breastfeeding, why is it safe for anyone
Anybody.
else?
Yeah. That is always curious to me.
Yeah. When I talk to people, the reality of it is most people don't know these things,
Hmm. Hmm.
which is kind of scary that we're not more transparent
Yeah.
about them. But kind of going back to nourishing the body is, in my treatment room, I design everything in my room around like how, you kind of spoke to it is like, it's very intentional that I want this to be a place where your nervous system is able to
Relax.
downgrade and
Yes.
relax. And, where our body actually heals is in the parasympathetic state. It's in deep relaxation, which most of us don't spend a lot of time, if any time, in that space. So if I can offer you 60 or 90 minutes where you're able to just relax,
Hmm. Hmm.
to me, that is extremely powerful because that is when your body is going to
Heal.
heal itself, it's going to regulate itself. And that's where the real change happens.
Yeah. So if I understand, you're even in the skincare that you recommend, in my experience, you don't recommend a lot of harsh exfoliations and like
Uh,
stripping of the skin. You're always like, okay, what is this contributing and adding to your skin instead of what are you pulling? Does that make
yeah,
sense?
yeah, it totally does. So our skin we have a skin barrier, and it is a delicate balance of oil and water. And this is going back to like our bodies are
So smart.
amazing beings. Like,
Yeah.
they should be, self-sustaining. But again, because of lifestyle or environment, sometimes that gets complicated. So going back to the skin barrier part, we live in Bozeman, Montana. It's a super arid climate. It's considered the high desert.
Mhm.
There is not a lot of humidity in the air. So most people who live here are suffering from dehydrated skin.
Mhm.
And so when you have dehydrated skin, you don't want to use a lot of exfoliation. We don't need to take away any more of our skin barrier. We actually need to be, how do we build that
Strengthen it.
integrity of
Yeah.
our skin barrier? I tell people all the time who have just moved here from more like maybe coastal, more humid climates, is that if we lived there, we'd have a different conversation about skincare.
Yeah.
If you're living in a hot and humid climate like Florida, your skin is producing a lot more sebum, which is oil. You have a lot of, debris will stick to your skin in a different way. There's more texture in your skin. You're probably going to want to have some sort of regular exfoliation as part of your routine, but that's just not where we live and what we do. And so,
But that's a fascinating thing because when you are on social media, right, or you're on in the internet and you're looking for
mhm,
skincare, I don't think there's
mhm,
not one
no,
skincare line or company that's like or that gives you that education. So you're everyone who lives all across the country, all across the world is getting this information about this particular skincare, but not taking into account where you live. And that is
yeah,
huge. And that's one of the things you've taught me. It's like, yeah, if you live in Texas or Florida, then you're right. You'd be having a totally different conversation. But we live in
yeah,
Montana and it happens to be that my skin's not even so dry, even living here. So I think I do better here than I do in a humid climate.
yeah,
Most people, it's not for that case. But like it's such a simple thing about where you live to be
yeah.
taken into consideration what you're putting on your skin and what you're doing to your skin. I don't think I've heard anyone have that conversation ever.
Definitely a conversation that we should have more often. But
Yeah.
look, we also live in a less populated area, right?
Yeah.
So population density happens on the coast in bigger cities. And
Right.
so,
Right.
yeah, so a lot of what you're seeing probably,
Are geared towards that.
yeah, more of
Yeah.
that. But yeah, it really depends. Like, look, this is why I think it's really helpful to have an esthetician. I will say, I wasn't someone who prioritized a whole bunch of facials in the earlier part of my life, or spending a lot of time talking about my skin with an esthetician. I had an amazing, uh, so estheticians do a lot of different things. So my sister, for example, she specializes in waxing and eye enhancements, and she's
Hmm.
incredible at it.
Hmm.
I focus on facials. I had a waxing esthetician for over, I think, for the good part of 20 years. And I learned a lot about skin from her. She was actually the first person to introduce microcurrent to me.
Hmm.
But yeah, having somebody to talk to you about your skin, dermatologists are great. I think they definitely have their place. I go every year to have all of my, like my
Checks.
moles checked,
Yeah.
and like, that is a very real thing. But it's different when you're just treating something topically and versus like really trying to understand what's going on with your skin.
And
Um,
also talking to someone who has eyes on you, who knows you a little bit, because you sometimes you get advice from somebody, a really even someone a really great esthetician, but doesn't know you or doesn't even see you, and they're recommending products.
yeah. No, I recognize that, the what I offer is considered luxury. I
Hmm.
wish that wasn't the case, because I think that so many people
Yeah. Yeah.
can benefit from it, but I do understand that. I think that's why I have a ton of respect for what my sister does. And then also the woman who used to do my waxing for me, is that there's a way to what they offer, people don't see as luxury.
Mm-hmm.
Getting your brows done for most people is something that they're not going to miss. Like they're going
Mm-hmm.
to every 4 to 6 weeks, they're going and they're going to get their brows done. But if you have a really great person who's even doing that service for you, they're looking at your skin. They see your skin on a regular basis,
Mm-hmm.
and they're sharing with you what they're observing and recommending different things to you. It doesn't have to be a facialist, but it just needs to be
Yeah.
somebody who is spending that time with you.
Yeah. And I guess what I think that is valuable about this conversation is even if you're not getting a facial, even if you don't have an esthetician, maybe you are encouraged or you pause to thinking about your skin, what your needs are, what your lifestyle's like, and just even asking yourself those questions.
100%.
So you can, even if you're not going to go to an esthetician, or maybe you'll just do a one consultation or whatever, but then if you kind of reflect and take some time to think about what you're experiencing, maybe you'll ask the right questions or you'll do some more research and it'll just give you pause. And also, one of the things that I'm really excited to talk about is the things that you can do on your own without an
Yes.
esthetician.
Yep.
You've taught me so many things that don't cost any money, that don't make you like, you are like we talk about this all the time. I always laugh at you. Like, you don't let me buy stuff. Like, you're the one person who sells skincare and says, no, you don't need that. You don't need that. Don't get that. Wait on that. Like, you are really, really have a lot of integrity around that. And one of the things that you've taught me that I incorporate every day is the facial massage.
Oh,
And I don't do a full one every day, but you have taught me, like, in this culture, we are scared to touch our skin, right?
yep.
Don't touch it, whatever. But you have really opened up another huge perspective of, like, touch your skin, like, get in
Yes.
there, right? Massage it. There's techniques to massage, but even when you're washing your face, like with your cleanser, like, really get in there. And I know we've talked about, like, some of my, the chin stuff. And I am like, what could I do about, like, I'm starting to get like like, I don't know what you call this waddly thing that I don't like, or double chin or whatever. And you have taught me so many different things that I do in the shower, right? That don't cost anything. This is not a
Mhm.
conversation that's like, you need to go and spend all this money and CNS. Like, there's so many things that you can do, like neck stretches, the way we open our mouth, the way we stick out our tongue, like, get our jaws moving and working and operating. Like, all that has a ton of effect on our facial structure and on the, like, when you massage your skin, what happens? Talk about that. Like, why are we doing that? Because it makes such a difference. It really, really
Okay,
does.
so I'll start with what, like, the thing that everyone's trying to solve for is everybody's talking about, wrinkles. That's the first thing, the sign of
Yeah.
aging.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, oh my God, like, I have a wrinkle.
Mhm.
Wrinkles are caused by several different things. One of the most common things that cause wrinkles is actually dehydration. That can be internal and external dehydration. So when the skin is dehydrated, it crinkles.
Mhm.
Like you get lines in it. And so, again, going back to where we live, you can drink 120 ounces of water a day and still your skin can be dehydrated because maybe you spend a lot of time on the ski slopes or take your dog for a couple walks a day and it's windy, it's cold. And so having moisturizer this time of year, particularly, I tell all of my clients, if you do anything, don't leave the house without a moisturizer on your skin. Again, different conversation if we lived in Florida.
Yeah.
Here, like, you need something extra on your skin. You wouldn't walk outside without a coat. Why would you do that to your face?
Mhm.
So that's one thing, the dehydration part. The other thing is understanding what causes wrinkles. For most of us, as we age, our wrinkles can be a loss of collagen and elastin in our skin. So collagen is, think about it as like it's responsible, it's like fat, like kind of like that fullness in your skin.
Yeah.
And then elastin is exactly what it sounds like. It's like a rubber band. It's the
You're
elasticity,
stretchy. Yeah.
it's the bounce back that we start to lose, things kind of start to let go and sag. There are definitely different supplements that you can take that are helpful, having a mindful diet, particularly for, us women, thinking about where we are in our hormonal health is really important and how to support that. Again, this is like an all over, you support what's going on the inside, it's going to show on the outside. So the place where this facial massage comes into is the collagen elastin, but also muscular. So over time, we build muscle memory in how we hold our face. And so some of the popular, unpopular places that we like to think about when it comes to wrinkles is, the furrow lines on our forehead, the 11s,
Like
lines
mine and
around our
my deep grooves in my forehead that are not going anywhere. They're just too trained. They're there to
lines
stay.
of lines around our mouth. And so for me, in my practice, like you mentioned, I think about the lymphatic system. I also think about the muscular system a lot. So when I'm doing facial massage, I'm understanding how facial muscles work, and I'm looking at how each individual person is actually using their facial muscles. And so think about, for example, the mouth area is a really easy one. So our mouth and our eye areas are actually one set of muscles that go around. And over time, those muscles tighten, and those circular muscles get shorter. So the muscle gets shorter, but your skin does not tighten. So then as the skin lays over the muscle, it wrinkles. And so if you can spend some time relaxing those muscles, the skin will lay over the muscles in a more uniform way and reduces
Right.
wrinkles. The
Right.
other thing that happens when you massage your face is you're creating stimulation, which is bringing, one is
Oh, it's blood
helping
flow, right?
blood flow. So two things that are happening. One is, and chicken or the egg, it doesn't really matter, but one, you're helping with inflammation. So you're creating, helping to create paths for your lymphatic fluids to flow. I mean, that's a whole nother conversation, right? Our lymph systems don't have their own pumps, unlike our circulatory system. And so sometimes that manual movement is really necessary. And so when you're creating that space, then the blood can flow in, and the blood is bringing oxygen and nutrients and collagen and elastin. So doing that facial massage not only feels good, it's super impactful. And I love that you talk about how you do it when you're in the shower or when you're washing your face, because that is, I always joke, like, I think most of us think of doing a facial massage as, you have to set aside like an hour and light a candle. And it's like this, you have to do it when the kids are asleep, and it's this whole thing. And then you never do it because it just seems...
Yeah. So I just when I wash my face, I take an extra minute or two, and that's twice a day. And I just, you've taught me, like, you want to see color in your face. Like you want to see stimulation. You want to see that, like, you've actually been moving things around. And that has been a huge shift. Like before, whatever, you wash your face, whatever, like, but also the idea of that, like touching our skin and like getting in there, and don't be afraid to touch your skin, right? There was a time where I had very bad breakouts, and I couldn't get in there as deep as I would like. But that's what I'm trying to say, though, is like, that doesn't cost you anything, right?
No.
And that's a very, very powerful part to, your skin and your overall health. But I think you mentioned before, right? Like the elephant in the room, or the conversation everybody likes to have as us women as we get older is aging, right? Anti-aging. I would love to pick your brain and spend a minute on, as an esthetician, about aging, right? In my perspective, and I've talked about this on social media before, and everyone feels very differently about this. And that's okay. We all get to think how we think, and we all get to take care of our body how we want to take care of our body. You can put as much Botox as you want in your skin. You can do that. And that might be the right choice for you. And I honestly say I don't have judgment around it. I just have the way that I think. And I think there are people who do talk about it, but it's a little overshadowed. It's like, we do age, right? And
Yeah.
our skin is going to get wrinkles. Like, we're not going to prevent that forever. You're not going to be 90 years old and, still getting Botox or Botox having mattered at that point, right? So I would love to see a little bit more lean in on the aging process. And I love the way that you approach it with like, yeah, you want to prevent, some wrinkles early on, or you want to give your skin the best possible optimal experience and set it up for success, all these things that you can do. And at a certain point, like, when do we just accept and gracefully accept and support our system in the aging process, not trying to reverse it or stop it?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's such a big conversation.
I know it's hard.
The conversation around anti-aging, because
Yeah.
when and why did that ever become a thing?
Yes.
It's not a thing. Like, there is no such thing as anti-aging. We are all aging. Nothing that you're going to put on your skin is going to stop that process. Not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I think what inherently most of us, all of us really want is we want to look our best.
Yeah.
We want to feel good.
Mm-hmm.
And I, talked about it a little bit earlier about how, the beauty and wellness industry is multi-billion-dollar industry. Everybody wants a piece of it. How many different celebrity skincare lines are there out there? Like, people who are creating skincare who don't know anything about skincare.
Yeah.
And I think that we've gotten to this place where we're looking for beauty and wellness to be defined by somebody else. And then so many of us are susceptible to subscribing to somebody else's ideal of what actually
what beauty
means,
is. Yeah.
what beauty is, what wellness is. And what it really is it's about you as the individual and figuring out, like you said, like, ultimately, I'm here to support, I want to provide resources and guidance to people, but whatever feels right to you, that's the right thing to do. But what I really just want people to be mindful of is like, are you doing something that actually is supporting your wellness on a sustainable level? Because that is when when real beauty happens. When you're healthy, you are beautiful.
Yeah. And also, do you have all the information, right? When you're making these choices of what you're putting in your skin, I think you make whatever choice, but make an informed choice, right?
An informed choice.
Also understand like what happens, when Botox breaks down, or what happens when these fillers get stuck in your skin, or whatever happens, like and maybe it's still the right choice for you. Maybe, and that's okay. But just make sure you know, right? Or you've taken the time to think about it. And I think there's we get so much information at us all the time, and we trust a lot. And I think it would be great if we were more involved and we understood more, or there was an easier way to get the right information. Cause I think it's also hard. Like, you try to do research, and like, I can give you an example and I shared that with you, it just happened over Black Friday. Like, I wanted an LED mask, right? And there's so many out there, and each one claims to be the best. And then you have the other ones that say, well, if you don't get this one, then the other ones are garbage. And guess what? I ended up getting none, because I was like,
so proud of you.
And yes, I was proud of myself too. But I was like, I don't understand. Like, all of them claim to be the best, right? All of them claim to have the solution. And I know that, none of my huge problems are being solved by an LED mask, but it's something that I could do. It's something that I think could be helpful. That's another little piece to the puzzle that I can add to my routine. But at the end of the day, I was like, how do you even do the research? How do you even know? Because every product is claiming to be the best. And then you're like, well, if you're not going to do, there's the LED and then there's what's the other one?
Oh, the laser. No,
The laser.
lasers becoming, the cold laser is becoming more
Yeah.
popular.
So,
Yep.
and then the cold laser masks are like, well, cold laser puts everything to shame. You might as well not even have an LED mask, but then those are like very pricey. So I ended up getting so confused and so overwhelmed that I did nothing, because how do you navigate all the stuff out there and all the information and everybody telling you that their product is the best? Like, that's where I guess people like you have to come in and help us, because it's hard to know what to do.
If there's anything that like I put out there that I hope that resonates with people and they hold on to is like, ultimately at the end of the day, do what's right, do what feels good. Do what feels good to you, what feels right. If it feels stressful, if it feels overwhelming, it's not going to help. It's not
Mm-hmm.
helping.
Mm-hmm.
And, and that applies to so much. It applies to purchasing, but it also applies just to facial massage. Like you were talking about, just kind of go back a second about the
Yeah.
facial massages you were talking about when you were experiencing deeper acne and how it was uncomfortable. Like doing facial massage, like, isn't just doing this protocol to your face. It's about really connecting, understanding, okay, that doesn't feel good. I'm not going to do that. Why does it not feel good? Okay, understanding
Mm-hmm.
that. Okay, does
Mm-hmm.
this feel good? And like being curious with yourself and understanding what feels right.
You've really taught me that skill, of like tuning in, even with products, like what feels good on your skin. Like, does it smell good? Right? Like what smells
Yeah.
good for you, like the whole
Yes.
experience. But what like I've gotten a lot better at tapping into like, what does my skin need in this moment? Maybe it needs a heavier moisturizer, a lighter moisturizer, a mask and not a mask. Like, you have over the years taught me to really pay attention and to trust myself, right? And trust my intuition. Yeah. I think a lot of us override it or we don't listen to it. And I think all of us have intuition. And when we really listen to that intuition, it really is pretty powerful.
I mean, it's what's going to keep us alive at the end of the day, right? Our
Yeah.
our
Yeah.
intuition is our way of knowing how to take care of ourselves. And again, I feel completely honored and humbled and very satisfied if someone can connect with their intuition
Mm-hmm.
through a conversation that we had. And
Yeah.
I'll tell you, when I'm doing kind of intakes with new clients and we're talking about maybe something that they're experiencing with their skin and going through a series of questions, like you had mentioned before about like, maybe you won't see an esthetician, but maybe just be kind of curious about what's going on for yourself. That is the most powerful thing, because as I'm asking people questions, they almost always will say, well, I think that this is happening because of this. And I'm like, great. And there's probably something there.
Yeah.
If that's what you feel like, I think my body, I'm sensitive when I eat this thing, or I think that there's this thing in my lifestyle that I do that probably causes this to happen. Great. That's probably where we should start. That's probably
Yeah.
what it is. And
Yeah.
then like, what tools can I help present for you that will resonate with you that you might be able to use to address that thing?
Yeah. Yeah. You really do that. And so many times I'll be like, should I do this or should I do that? And you're like, well, what does it feel like? What do you think? What does it feel like for you? And of course you always provide good insight and opinion when necessary, but that training of like, well, really like think about how it is feeling inside or how it feels for you is something that is a tool that just is so powerful because it comes with us, and we wherever we go, our intuition goes, and so it's something that we can take with us and constantly exercise it. And I think in so many areas of my life, when I've tuned into that and I didn't override it or ignore it or question it, it usually leads you down a path that you're supposed to be on.
Yeah.
So talk to me a little bit about microcurrent. I know that's something that you do like to use in your
Yeah.
facials. And I like, tell us about it. Why do you like it? Why is it a tool for you?
Like I mentioned, I was introduced to microcurrent by my esthetician back in Seattle. Very briefly, it was the new face device when it first came out. And the reason why it resonated with me was it's completely non-invasive. So
Mm-hmm.
it's microcurrent just means an electrical current that's so small that it can cross into cell walls. It's a tiny electrical current. And we are electrical beings. We have electricity in our system. When we get sick, when we get injured, as we get older, the intensity of those frequencies start to weaken. And so microcurrent has been around. I mean, microcurrent has been around probably since the beginning of time, but we've been utilizing it in the wellness industry for over 100 years now. Originally, it was used for neurological and muscular rehabilitation. It's still used for that. A lot of people are familiar with like TENS or eSTEM and more of like a physical therapy environment. Very similar in concepts. In the 80s, they started using microcurrent with people who had Bell's palsy, who had facial paralysis, and were able to help with reanimation of facial muscles. And they still use it with Bell's palsy patients today. But that's about the time when the aesthetic industry was like, oh, you can use it on the face.
Yeah. Let's jump on the bandwagon.
So it fits in perfectly with kind of my ethos and the things that I care about. Like it's about supporting the systems, about strengthening the systems literally at a cellular level. So creating cellular health, and how that manifests is, I'm using different frequencies during a treatment that is around each frequency is a different wave shape. Each wave shape does a different behavior. So circulation, draining of lymphatic fluid, working on relaxing certain muscle tension areas, helping with the firming of the skin, helping with lifting the skin. So it's become more popular in the last handful of years. It's definitely not, I wouldn't say, I'm still very much explaining to most people what microcurrent is.
Right.
But a couple of like the really popular nicknames for microcurrent out there are one, the non-invasive facelift, because you can get like a very sculpted, lifted effect from the microcurrent. And then the red carpet facial, because it's really popular with
Because
celebrity
there's no
estheticians.
downtime, right?
There's no downtime.
Yeah.
What do they call it? You're lifted, you're glowy. And so it's becoming more and more popular. But yeah, I'm a really big fan of it. It's something that after one treatment, most people will experience, they'll see the difference in their skin. It is, I tell people it's like going to the gym. You're working on facial muscles. It's like working on your biceps or your calves. If you want improvement and sustained results, then you've got to
You got to show up.
sustain those treatments. You got to show up and do those treatments.
Yeah.
So that leads me to, I'll just jump in and also talk about the question I get a lot about microcurrent is at home devices. And so at home devices can be great. But what I tell people, whether it's LED or microcurrent devices, is devices are expensive. Good devices are expensive. And they're only as good as you use them. So unless you're going to commit to using them 3 to 5 times a week, don't invest. It's not worth it. No matter how great the results can be, it's not worth it if you're not
You're
going
not
to
going to
use
do
it.
it. Yeah.
So don't do it. But they can be great.
But if you are committed,
If you are committed,
not me, because that's very hard for me to commit to these types of things. But if you are committed, is there a home device that you do stand by?
There are several out there that I like. I do like the new face device. I think the new face device is great. MyoLift also makes an at-home device. It's really,
Is this microcurrent stuff?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
these are microcurrent devices specifically. again, I think do your research. If you have an esthetician, ask your esthetician. It's also really personal. Like like we talked about, for example, like the LED device, right?
Yeah.
There are several different LED devices, more than several. There's a lot of LED devices out there. There are three that stand out for me that I like, but like it depends on what is your budget and what is your lifestyle. Like there are ones that you can hold in your hand and you can manually stimulate the face with. There are ones that you can wear on your face. There are ones that you can lay down and put over, over your face. They all offer something different. They all fill different budgets, but the one that's right is the one that fits for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
In all of the different options that we have, there are options out there, and picking what is right for you is the right choice.
What are your thoughts on, I know everyone has different thoughts on this, and I respect that, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts on injectables and more invasive procedures. Like, I just want to hear what you think. Because, even me, who's I know where I stand on these things, and it's not a secret. I don't want to have any injectables in my face, but once in a while, I'm like, I'm almost like, what if I just did that? And it's not even about necessarily my wrinkles. I don't really care about my wrinkles. I think aging and showing aging, and I almost feel like it's, what did I call wrinkles before? It's like your battle scars, right? It's like shows like what you've been, like, I don't know. It's like part of you. I think you should be proud of them. Most people do not agree with me. I am aware of this. But that's how I choose to see it.
But most people don't agree with me either.
Yeah. But, like a sculpted face, or like, I don't know. There's a lot of things that, if only I could do that. And I also think that it became just so much more prevalent and out there. And it's now very, very, very normal and common. Like everybody's getting Botox. Like you're kind of an anomaly if you're not getting Botox.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a weird place to be, So what are your thoughts on injectables? What's the longevity of it? What happens later on in your face? Is there ramifications? Just briefly give us the skinny on that. Your opinion.
My perspective on it is I'm curious. I'm always curious about anything skincare related. Where that curiosity has taken me at this present moment is that I think that we still are learning a lot about the effects of whether it's injectables or more invasive procedures, of what those long-term effects are. And because of that, for me, like you said very early on in this conversation, I'm a data collector. I don't have enough data to feel confident for myself.
I love that.
It does not speak to me because I feel like I'm not satisfied with the information out there, that it's not going to harm me long term. And so this is my personal beliefs and where it's led me. When I talk about and when I think about like the integrity of my practice and what I do, going back to, for me, it's really about supporting and nourishing your system. Those things don't align for me. Any sort of injection is putting a foreign substance into your body. And when we do that, our body's natural reaction is to try to move it out of our body. And when that happens, you're creating a stress response in your system.
And it's not a secret, like the ingredients of like something like Botox, it's not natural, right? You're putting toxic stuff into your body.
Fillers these days that are like made out of hyaluronic acid. Like hyaluronic acid is a substance that can naturally occur, that is naturally occurring in our body. That hyaluronic acid is not a human form of
byproduct
hyaluronic acid. But yes, you can argue like, yes, this is a naturally occurring substance that we're injecting into your body. So in theory, it is familiar for your body. But again, like even if you just think about the injection of itself, it's creating an injury. Those injuries create scar tissue. So there was this amazing video that was going around a couple months ago about a plastic surgeon who was talking about Botox and fillers. And essentially his perspective was, if you want to get Botox or if you think at some point you would like to be a candidate for a facelift, his recommendation was, then don't do Botox and fillers. And so what the video actually demonstrated was peeling back, he had was doing a facelift for two different people, one that had Botox and fillers previously, injections previously, and one who had not. And what you saw under the skin of the person who had injections was all of the scar tissue and all of these different masses that had been formed under their skin that wasn't there before.
Yeah.
And I think it's just indicative of evidence that we're still just learning about how these things affect our body. And we don't always think about, kind of the long term of, what these things do. And so from my perspective, I'm thinking about, God, what is that doing to our lymphatic system? Like I mentioned before, our lymphatic system doesn't have its own pump. One of its multiple responsibilities, but primary responsibilities, is about carrying waste away from our body systems.
Yeah.
And when there are blockages in our body, you and I talk about, particularly in the neck area, blockages can look like many different things. One of the common things that I see that impact facial skin is tension, muscle tension. So when we have muscle tension in our neck, it really impacts the way that the lymphatic fluid drains from our face. And when that stagnation occurs,
you get
a lot of times we see acne. We see
welcome. I'm a very good example of that.
But also like inflammation. People talk about puffiness all of the time. Like that puffiness is a lot of times has to do with inflammation caused by lymphatic stagnation. And so you're putting these foreign substances under your skin, and then it's inhibiting the way that your lymphatic system works, and we think about I talk about this a lot too, is we think about our face when it comes to our head, because that's the thing we're looking at. But even more important than what's going on in our face is our brain. We're putting these injections into our head. They just came out recently and acknowledged that Botox does travel through the blood-brain barrier. So we just don't have, in my opinion, enough information to make me feel confident that it's worth it.
That you would do it for yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. The short-term, results, the satisfaction of not having 11s in my forehead aren't going to impact my wellness, my, cognitive abilities later in life, my ability to move my body, or for my immune system to function in a way that's going to support the type of lifestyle that I want to have.
Yes. And I feel like I wish we talked about that more. Like, there's so much more to you than your wrinkles, or I don't know, or your jawline, or I don't know. And I keep thinking, as you're talking, I've been thinking, okay, like my grandmother, right, is in her 90s. I promise you, she did nothing to her skin. And you look at her and she has the most beautiful, gorgeous skin. Okay, I know some of that is hereditary and genes. But I think we do so much to our skin. We're constantly doing stuff and treatments and lasers and BBLs and whatever, all the stuff. I don't even know all the names of the stuff. And I think you've taught me this, but also I'm beginning to really see it. It's like, is it less more? Like, the less we do to our skin, like cleanse it, support it from the inside out. But there has to be something to the idea that the less you do to your skin, the better it will be later on. Am I making that up? Like, I just feel that intuitively. Like, we're always doing something. I'm going to do this laser. I'm going to do that, And first of all, it's a very privileged thing. Most people don't have the funds to even consider things like that, and I definitely have to do the basics. But the thing is out there is that a lot of people talk about it and then they make you feel like, I'm not doing that stuff. Like, oh, I need to be doing this laser, or for me to have optimal skin, I need to be doing this, or I need to be doing that. I need to be doing that. But then I sit and I think about the older people in my lives, like my mother, my grandmother, like they wash their face, they take good care of their skin, they try to take good care of their body. And I think they're a lot better off.
Exactly what you said is all that I can ever hope to, if I were to think of myself as an influencer, if
Yeah.
the thing that I can influence people to do is be curious.
Yeah.
And be curious
Yeah.
and think about how it applies to yourself. I mean, I I can't reiterate enough, like the beauty industry is a multi-billion-dollar business. Like people are
Remember that when you're buying into it.
out to sell you stuff.
Yeah.
Like it's no one needs a 10-step skincare routine.
Yeah.
Like there's no product that everybody needs. These are people who are telling you that you need these things are the people who are trying to sell you these things.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's tricky. And that's why it's even tricky for me as an esthetician. A lot of estheticians, they get their knowledge through the brands that they work with. We do brand trainings, and,
Mm-hmm.
it takes a lot to have an
Be
objective
objective.
perspective, right? I
Yeah.
spend a lot of time doing my own research that is separate from anything that I learned from any of the brands or partners that I have, because I want to make sure that I'm not being influenced.
Yeah. Yeah. And your people appreciate that so much because it is an overwhelming industry. And I think it is important to remember that it is an industry.
Yes.
And I think I love what you said before. And I think it's a really great place to kind of wrap up is like, we all want to be beautiful, right? We all want to look our best. We all want to be beautiful. And there is no shame in that. We shouldn't feel like, oh, I care about how I look. Like, no, we should care about how we look. We should feel beautiful in our skin. And the question is, how is that for you, right? How are you going to make yourself feel beautiful in your skin? My goal of this conversation is just to help block out the noise that we're so inundated with, and what other people tell us is beautiful, what other people say wrinkles is not beautiful. Well, I don't buy in. I don't buy into that. That's my own personal my little soapbox is wrinkles, right? Like I don't buy into. I think I can be beautiful with my wrinkles. I don't think people look at me and say, "Wow, she needs Botox." I mean, maybe they do, but I don't really care, but do you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yep.
I'm not buying into that narrative that I shouldn't have wrinkles and wrinkles make me less beautiful or more look old or whatever. I just don't buy into that. There's certain things that I do buy into that I have to work on, right? But I just want everybody to feel beautiful in their skin and go about it in a way that is expansive and that makes them feel good. And it doesn't feel good when you're trying to fit into somebody else's mold.
No. Yeah.
Right? And I think it's really hard to not do that just by osmosis,
Impossible.
right? It's impossible. Yeah. So we all are influenced by our surroundings and by trends we're all influenced. No one's above that influence. But the more and more we can look inward, listen to our intuition, listen to our bodies, have the right people around us to support us, I think that beauty will shine. Because when you're happy and settled and grounded in who you are and in your skin, that's what I feel like shows the most.
The truest form of self-love.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you love yourself, when you're connected to yourself, you will feel beautiful. You are beautiful. Like it will radiate.
That's the message, right? Everybody is so beautiful, right? Just feel it so people can feel it too,
Just take care of yourself, make time for yourself, trust yourself, listen to your body. be curious.
And have someone like Linda in your life. Thank you so much for being here and
Thank you for having
just
me.
giving us so much of your time. And I so appreciate it.
Thank you. It's been so much fun.
Okay, so I have a couple things that I want to bring your attention to. Did you guys notice the music change? We're getting more professional as we go along. It's so exciting. So we are now, if you noticed, we have a musical intro, which is so fun. And yeah, it's just really exciting to develop the podcast slowly. And I try not to do everything at once and have it be perfect all at the same time because that's not realistic. Although, you just want to be there, but the journey is so part of it. So that's like a little exciting addition. So what really stands out for me in this episode in particular is how on point the theme is. It really is like a perfect example of why I decided to call the podcast Totally Unexpected. Every podcast that you listen to, it applies. But I just think this is one of the examples that are just really out there. Like you can see it right away. Linda, like going from an HR job, first of all, she had other jobs to begin with, but going from an HR job in Microsoft to being a holistic esthetician is so unexpected. And I think she even uses that word unknowingly, but it's such a shift and a 180 change. And it is what life's about. I think we all can relate to different moments in our life that reflect that. Like, wow, like I did not see that coming, or I did not expect that, or how did I get here? And what I think is so amazing about Linda is she realized that the situation that she was in and the job that she was in and the circumstances that she was in, she was not doing okay. She wasn't okay. She wasn't feeling good. She was stressed. And she made the change. Like how many of us stay in circumstances that are not good for us and don't do anything about it? Linda does mention how it takes her a long time to make a decision and that nothing happens quickly. And I think that's also so powerful. You can decide that you want to make a change and move towards it at your own pace. It doesn't have to be at the snap of your fingers. But she's such a good example of making the change and really taking control and fixing something that isn't. Some things are not in our control, right? Some things in our life we can't change. But if it's something that we can, you can do that. And you can go into a whole new industry that you've never been in. And like I said in the podcast, you'd never know. You'd never know that Linda wasn't doing this her whole life. I don't know how she does it. I think it's just she so embodies what she does, and it really, really comes through. Now, the skincare, I guess it's not really the skincare. It's more like the wellness beauty industry is so enormous, and it's so hard to navigate. I think this podcast is like just a drop in the bucket of what could be discussed. And like we've said, there are many different approaches to skin, and you can listen to many different estheticians and many different podcasts around wellness and beauty and hear millions of different thoughts and opinions. It's on you to figure out what aligns with your value system and what you are wanting out of your wellness and your beauty. But the one thing that I think is universal is that it is overwhelming. There's so much out there. And I think it's so important to remember that it's an industry. Even though it's wellness and beauty, it's still an industry. And it's a billion, multi-billion dollar industry. So at the end of the day, it's making a lot of money. So when you are making choices about your wellness or your beauty, just know, just don't take just don't take everything at face value necessarily. I've gone down that road in the wellness path where it gets really overwhelming and all of a sudden you're inundated with so many different ideas and the best thing for your health. I can't even tell you how many times I heard like cold plunge, the best thing for your health, sauna, steam, exercise, this diet, that diet. there's just a million things. Now we have like the infrared sauna, the red light therapy, right? It's just like there's so many things we can be doing for our health, and it can be so overwhelming. And then what happens is that it becomes counterproductive. And then we're so stressed out from all the wellness things that we can be doing, and then we lose sight of what the point was to begin with. And I've had to do a lot of work around that because wellness is a value for me. Like, I'm attracted to it. I'm into it. I lean towards holistic. And so it's so easy to get caught up in it. And then it kind of takes you down this path that can be really counterproductive, like I said. So I think that it's so important to constantly check yourself, constantly gauge the barometer of, is this really adding something to your life that's making your life more easeful, you feel better, or is it adding stress? And keep asking yourself that. And it applies to the skincare industry as well. There are a gazillion skincare products. They can't all be the best. Some are going to be great for some types of skin, and some are going to be great for other types of skin. Some are going to be more natural. Some are going to be more medical. But there's so many. And I don't think there is one skincare that's going to solve all your problems. Like we discussed in the podcast, it is a whole body experience, which is why Linda's approach is it just feels so good because it's about so many different things. And it's been a journey for me. I was thinking that maybe I would write a little bit of a Substack post on my skincare journey and the things that I've done over the last few years that have been part of the process. And still, my skin's not perfect. It still struggles, but there's been a lot of improvement, but it's super slow. And I'm of the believer, easy come, easy go. I don't want the easy fix that's going to be the Band-Aid. Like, I'm really trying to work through the inside out, and it takes so much patience. And I don't naturally tend to be patient. So it's really an exercise on all aspects, but it's worth it to me. It's worth it to me to really get it from the inside out and also have great skincare. Having great skincare is fun. Like, I need to like my skincare. I need to like how it feels and how it smells. And I am happy to share, maybe in the post, I'll share what I use, but also with a grain of salt, because this is what I like, Anyway, those were the things I was thinking about after recording with Linda. It was so fun to talk to her. And I put up a last minute question box on Instagram if anybody had thoughts and feelings around the skincare beauty industry. I only put it up a couple hours ago because this week has been hectic. So I think it's really interesting. I'll just read a few of the things that came in just for kicks and giggles. And it's just interesting to see where some people, like where they're at. Obviously there's a very, very, very tiny percentage of people, but it's interesting nonetheless. So somebody said, I want to take care of my skin, but I don't know where to start. Everything is expensive. So this podcast is great for you. I hope you listened, because we do talk about a lot of different tools that don't cost any money. So skincare, there is skincare that is affordable, that is good. That I know for sure. I'm not an expert, so maybe if anyone has recommendations, you can send them in. But that's for sure. But there's so many things you can do for your skin that don't cost money, like the facial massage, the different exercises, the way that you take care of your body, the way that you eat. Like, there's so many things you can do that don't cost a lot of money. So I hope you got some tips from the podcast and they're helpful. I feel like I, Dafka, don't want to do anything in protest of the whole industry. It's a privilege to get and look old. I can get behind this. I'm very like that too. Like, if everyone's doing one thing, I want to go the other way. It is really easy to get so frustrated and just want to leave it all behind you. And I am 100% aligned with this idea of aging and looking our age and getting old. You know how I feel about wrinkles, guys. It's not a secret. I even have like a whole monologue on wrinkles. I believe in them. I don't think they're bad. Doesn't mean that's what you have to believe, but I wish it was more, not acceptable, but people felt more comfortable with their aging skin and getting older. Getting older is a privilege, and let's do it, and let's have fun doing it, and let's not stress about it. Of course, taking care of our body in the best possible way and being youthful in spirit and have energy and be able to do the things that we want to do, that's where it should be at. Anyways, my humble opinion. Okay, someone wrote here, most skincare products are likely ineffective and often overpriced. I use Zero, age 52. This is so interesting. I don't know where I stand on this because I do use skincare products, and I'm sure some of them are really great for your face and some of them not so much. But I do have to say, I was actually talking to Linda recently about this, and she's like, when you look at your mom and your grandmother and they have like the most gorgeous, glorious skin, obviously this is a generalization, definitely works in my family. My mother and my grandmother, porcelain skin, and they never did anything. So of course, in this age, we have so many toxins and hormones and all that stuff that's contributing. So we do have to balance that out with how we take care of our body. Yes, I get that. And there's not that much. I think Linda said this. There's not that much that you need for your skin. There really isn't. Like, what did our parents and grandparents focus on? Hydration and moisture and the Pond's cream, right? That was all the rage. That's all they talked about. We don't need that much. It's really, really true. We don't need that much. So I agree with that in the sense of we like to go to the extreme. There's so many things to do. But if you think about it, the older generation has way better skin than we ever will have. And I know I'm making like these big, bold statements, but come on, take them with a grain of salt. Okay. What else do we have here? Anti-aging products are a scam, and the marketing is designed to make you feel self-conscious. So I think there's a theme with how people are feeling. Again, I think there are products that can be helpful, but don't be fooled that the marketing is out there to make you want to buy the product. So how do they make you want to buy products? They make you feel self-conscious and not good enough. So then you have to go out and do something. So I agree with that. Always be aware of the marketing behind what's they're trying to sell you. I'm a consumer. I like stuff. So I fall into this trap all the time. But it's true. Like, it's the same thing with diets. They're preying on something that you already don't feel comfortable with, or all of a sudden now have a new thing to be self-conscious about. Okay. From my personal experience, it's not what I put on my face, but what I eat that affects how my skin looks. This is so true. It's a very inside out thing. Skin tells you what's going on inside of you. So if you are having very big flare-ups, chances are there's something inside of you that's not doing great, or that's imbalanced or inflamed. And I love looking at it that way. It's like, okay, skin, what are you telling me? I love all natural. Just leave it. All the creams and products make me cringe unless medically needed. I'm talking about beauty. Great. You guys, there's a lot of skin minimalists out there. I would love to hear, continue. I know the podcast is over, but you can continue sending it in. I think this is an ongoing discussion. I know there's so many people out there that love skincare and that love to experiment and love to do things with their face. And again, that's okay. Let's just be educated about what we're doing. That's the most important thing. Like, do the thing, but know what you're doing and make smart choices for you. The end. Okay, so this podcast does not happen by itself. The magic takes a whole group of amazing people, and I want to tell you who those people are. So obviously I'm your host, Chavie. Our producer and creative director is Eli Ben-Chion. He keeps me on my toes. He makes sure that I just keep growing and on point and don't miss a beat. He's the best. Audio is edited and mixed by Reed Seeley. Also, unbelievable. He's so cool, calm, and collected. You kind of need that working with me. And the music, which is beautiful, is by Basia Schechter and Shaul Magid. And this is totally unexpected.